Say goodbye to your son.
Okay. Hey, welcome to my booth. I'm Jay. Today we're listening to one of your samples yet again. This one comes from Carson, who is interested in timbre, tonality, and any processing advice that we can offer. So we'll give it a listen, see what we can come up with. Before we dive in, hey, if you like this stuff and you find it helpful and you want to help us out, you can click the buttons down there. That's the easiest way to do that. And then there's other ways to support the channel directly in the description below. Check it out if you're feeling generous. And then, of course, in the description, if you'd like me to review audio of this nature like this of yours, fill out the form down there. Send me something and we'll get you in a video just like this. ASAP. Speaking of ASAP, hey, take us away.
You're just a waste of space, reminding me of this dreary world that I live in. And I'm putting an end to it. Right now! Say goodbye to your son!
Okay. Firstly, cool text. Secondly, you're killing it. I love the commitment. I love that you're not pulling any punches. You're going the distance and you're filling out what the emotional stakes are. Like, this is life or death. This person, I would assume, is not a savory individual. They seem a little sinister in that regard. So, yeah, I think that in terms of all of that, excellent. Now, my big concern in terms of timbre and tonality is a simple question. How sustainable is this vocal performance for you, both in terms of energy and in the texture that you're putting into it? Because in animation and video games, sessions are 4 hours long at typical. And that means that you have to be able to sustain this level of energy, this vocal quality, consistently over 4 hours without hurting yourself, which can be very difficult. So my question is, if this is something that you can do for 4 hours, fantastic, and more power to you. If there's any question that you do this for 5 minutes and your throat starts to get raw, you start to feel like, oh, this is kind of getting painful, do not do it. Maybe heartbreaking because it's a cool character and a cool performance, but it's not worth it. Trust me, take it from someone who blew their voice out trying to do something like this. It's not ever worth it. And it doesn't look good when you get into a session, you're like, I got to take a break because I'm burning myself up. So just make sure that you're treating yourself safely in that regard. Now, other things in terms of the performance, like I said, I love it. So this is sort of like new directory visions in hearing your performance if you wanted to try it. It's a really brief sample, so I can't really go too far. But in this first section,
you're just a waste of space, reminding me of this dreary world that I live in.
I'm curious because reminding me of this dreary world that I live in. Clearly, this character has some hang-ups about the state of their world, and they don't like it. They don't agree with it. And so in thinking about that, particularly because at the end of this dialogue arc, the character is going to gear up to kill whoever they're talking to's son. Murder is about to take place. The stakes are life or death. And so getting to the kernel of why they feel that this world is so dreary and why it necessitates the ending of this other individual's life. And I guess what I'm driving at is it sorrowful? Is it regretful? Do they feel guilty about it? Do they blame this other person? And I'm not saying you're not indicating those things, but those are all things that you can infuse more. And in such a short dialogue section, you can, if you can, I think this way with pretty much everything. If you can split things up into multiple chapters, then I like to do it personally, just because it gives you more opportunities to show different aspects of your talent. And so if we call this first section chapter 1, and like this second section chapter 2, and this third one chapter 3, we could do that possibly. If we make this first section soft in tone, full of regret, full of sorrow, I'm not telling you to do these things, but as an example. And then this next section can be like anger, denial, and then the third section can be something else entirely. And those don't have to be the chapters either, but I like breaking things up in that way so that I can visualize how I can make as much acoustic interest between the different movements of whatever passage I'm reading. So if that's helpful, awesome. Now, as far as processing goes, there's a lot of stuff we can talk about. Firstly, you've got a ton of compression on here, which I get because you're going from soft to screaming. It's like you have a huge dynamic range going on in your performance. My suggestion would be instead of relying on or instead of using the compressor to get everything in the same range, as you're recording, ride the gain knob, meaning in the soft bits of your performance, turn the gain higher so that it hears you. As an example, we'll try it. So as it gets softer, we'll turn the gain up and we can say, you're just a waste of space. You remind me of this dreary world that I live in. And then as I get louder, I turn the gain down and I'm going to fix it right now. So you can turn the gain up and down as you get louder and softer to account for it. And that's sort of what a compressor is kind of doing, but that'll just be a cleaner way for you to record the audio principally. Alternatively, you could do a couple different takes at different gain settings if you don't want to be jockeying the knob up and down. But you could do one take at a lower gain set for recording the louder parts of your performance and then do an identical or similar performance with the gain on the opposite side of the spectrum, which could be a good way to pick it up for you and then edit it together. So compression, dial it back, maybe try riding the gain. And then there's a lot of... it's hard to describe, but the audio feels edited, and unfortunately I don't think the nuances here would come across via YouTube, so I can't really demonstrate it. But in the silences between and as you're talking, I'm hearing a lot of gating type stuff, expanders going on. Maybe there's like a fan or something in your space as well, because I'm hearing in the background some sort of like droning artifact. I would say just generally your processing in general, you can pull it back a fair amount, particularly because in emotional performances like this and just in character performances, the breath is such an asset because as human beings, the breath is an entirely, or it's an additional way that we communicate. Like a sigh can be loaded with so many different things. A deep breath to get ready for an explosion, as this person says, get ready to say goodbye to your son or whatever. The breath there can add to your performance, and via the processing and editing that you've got here, you've cut out pretty much all of the breaths, which is fine for some, but I like to leave breaths in there for animation and video game stuff because it's a part of the character's life and it breathes more life into it. So I would just dial back the noise reduction, gating, as well as the compression stuff. Edge more towards just raw, unedited audio than over-processing it. But all in all, hey, Carson, really fantastic work. I love the character work you're doing, and let us know if this stuff was helpful for you. And for everybody else, if you've, ask me questions. That's what I'm here for. Here to help. And we'll see you in the next one of these. Be well until then. Toodles.